What's going on, everyone? My name's Alex. That's Eileen. You're watching Straight to the Chicane. It's Lights Out, but we decided to change it, be a little bit more original, be something different, because there's already a lot of Lights Out or It's Lights Out or whatever. So
we're back. With a new name.
With a new name, and this is our first official episode with that name.
So don't forget to subscribe to our new channel.
That's right. If you haven't
even though
yet.
It's the same.
That's right.
Yes.
So today we're talking about the Imola GP. I'm not going to even try to say the full name.
It's Emilia Romagna.
Emilia Romagna Imola GP.
He still said it wrong.
I know. I struggle with that.
Emilia Romagna. Not Romagna.
Romagna.
I can't even say it wrong. Okay, welcome back.
Yes.
Imola.
So
we're here.
Yeah, this
first
weekend.
First
sprint race. And this sprint race was actually really good. Really good.
So good.
I was entertained the whole time. I kind of wanted more.
Because it all ended. It all was happening at the end. The culmination was the last lap.
Well, yeah, because it's all kind of quick. You know what I mean? So everything happens fast, and it was a fun sprint to watch.
Yeah.
There was passes in the midfield. There was passes all over. But let's not get into that too much yet. Let's talk about news that happened before the weekend started, which is I only got two things really, mostly Ferrari. Yeah. Yeah, so the big one was, for me, it's Carlos got his contract extension.
Yep, 2 more years.
Yep, and the other one is Leclerc had a very expensive Ricciardo
Millie
watch, and that got pickpocketed, kind of sleight of the hand kind of deal.
Yeah, he didn't even know.
I guess he didn't know. Maybe he wasn't even wearing it. We don't really know. But
it's weird because today I noticed when he was like doing the grid walk after with the fans or whatever, he had the same watch on. So did they just give him another $320,000 watch?
And he probably has a few because
I can't believe how expensive those watches are.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look like they have like diamonds and stuff.
They don't have.
And so I'm like,
some of them do.
How are they $300,000?
Because they're handcrafted and they only make so many a year, and like the
what? And they only make them for F1 drivers, or
no?
Like really rich people.
Yeah, that can afford them. Yeah, you want to buy one?
No, I'm good. I guess I have to sell this house.
Yes, right. So
that happened. Lewis is buying a soccer team with Serena Williams.
Oh yeah, that is also some news. There has been talk about that. However, it's just talking.
I think he confirmed it.
He confirmed that they're talking about it, and there has been talks. However, nothing's confirmed whether it's going down or not.
And I guess should I say football? Because it's not soccer.
That's right.
Soccer for us in America, but football.
It's football in the rest of the world.
Yeah, so that's technically correct.
Yeah.
But not a whole lot. Not a lot of teams bringing a lot of upgrades.
Not too many. A few things. Mercedes had a couple little winglets.
Nothing like we've expected. There's been a lot of rumors like Mercedes is going to do something drastic.
Yeah.
They still haven't figured out their issues. They said they've tried over 100 setups, and they still cannot figure out the setup of the car.
Wow. That's crazy.
I cannot, before we get into the weekend, I cannot deal with Mercedes not figuring out what's going on with their car. I'm so confused.
Well, I know.
I'm like, look, they are 8-time world champions consecutively. Mm-hmm. They win the most prize money, right? Because they come in first.
They have.
So I'm like, how are we in this position?
I just think they're trying to do something totally different than what's going on, and I think they're having. I don't know. From what I'm watching and understanding, the wider barge board area is pushing the wheel wake from the front wheels. Mm-hmm. Away from the rear end area, and they don't have a barge board really. I mean, they do. I mean, it's not a zero pod. There's still some pod there.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not as far out wide as the rest, like compared to Ferrari.
Yeah.
Right.
Or Alfa
Romeo, where there's pushed.
Or Haas.
And they push the air out.
Or Red Bull.
They're pushing the air out farther past those rear tires, past the rear wing, and I think Mercedes is just dealing with that tire wake in a totally different way.
They're having a lot of problems with their tires. Like, they can't get them, in the right range. But I'm like,
they'll get it figured out. I mean, their car looks sweet, but just because it looks sweet doesn't mean it's fast. I mean, look, Russell had a really good race.
Yeah.
A really good race to have that car where he finished.
Mm-hmm.
So,
he's been Mr. Consistent.
I mean, he's doing better than Mr. Hamilton right now, which is insanely crazy.
I know. It's wild.
It is.
I'm just like, if it ain't broke, why are we fixing it? Type of thing. Like, they changed the whole entire, like, look of the car, design. Like, there's going to, of course, be a lot to change and challenge and figure out. And so I think that's why they're struggling so much.
Right.
But, you know, it is what it is. But I'm, like, having a really hard time seeing them, like, not make it out of Q2. I'm like, I think it was the first time since, oh my God, I don't even, 2014, 2000 something. Maybe it was 2016 that both Mercedes cars did not make it out of Q2.
Yeah.
So it's just weird to see.
It is.
It's really weird.
Yeah. I mean, this and it being this weekend with the first sprint race, I was hoping that they were going to have some updates and kind of show off a different pace for the sprint, because they are kind of a farther back team right now, more of a back of a midfield team.
Yeah.
So that maybe they were going to do a different setup. Yeah, I know, a different setup for the sprint race to have a better go at it. And I think essentially that's kind of what Russell was able to do. You know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is qualifying was crazy. There was 5 red flags.
Qualifying was crazy.
There was a lot of rain. It was a lot of dryness. It was rain again.
Well, it was like a mix of slicks and intermediates and wets, and so.
And
it was
then
just
lots of timings of the red flags too. So it kind of hurt some people. And then some of the first runs on the tires, because sometimes these guys get 2 runs or whatever, 3 runs sometimes per qualifying session. Got it. And so they were getting it on their first run, and then it would be raining, and it wouldn't be able to go as fast as their first run was, and that's kind of what happened. Practice 1 was dry, and it seemed that it was going to be a different kind of race, because going into the weekend,
I knew it was going to rain. I checked.
You did.
I've been checking the forecast, and I was like, I just feel like it's going to rain. It's going to rain on Sunday. It's going to rain for the sprint race. And then it changed a little bit, but it rained last year in Imola. It's just like the time of year, like we're getting rain. But yeah, it was an unpredictable weather weekend. So it was like a mix of, you kind of had to be on your toes with setup and just what you're going to do, when you were going to move from intermediates to slicks.
And honestly, for being a wet race, I was expecting it to be not as boring as it was.
Yeah.
I was expecting a little bit more drama, a little bit more red flags, people going off. That's because it wasn't technically. This morning when I woke up, I watched the driver parade, and they were all under umbrellas. It was raining. It was raining real good, and I was like, oh yeah.
Well, that's how it was on Saturday too. The sprint race, they canceled practice for F2.
Oh yeah, for F2, you're right, they did.
And so then I expected the race to be crazy. And then they were on slicks. So I don't know. Well, let's talk about the sprint race. So
okay,
it's our first one. We had new rules.
First off, Max had pole.
Yes.
Leclerc was in second, and Lando was in third. Mm-hmm. That was what qualifying set the top 3. And
Magnussen was in 4th.
I'm sorry. I should say that.
I feel like we have to throw that in there.
Magnussen in the Haas was in 4th. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was to do with a little bit of rain and it drying up and then red flags.
Yeah, because Carlos was in P10 because he crashed out in Q2. And then Perez had poor qualifying because of the timing of the red flag. So he was in P7.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about those 2 contenders just based on the ending of the sprint race and where we were at. And then who else? We had Alonso in the top 10.
Yeah.
We had Aston Martin in the top 10.
We also had Mick.
We had Mick. Well, he was 10th.
Yeah, okay.
But still. And then we had who? The Mercedes was 11th and 13th. Or 11th and 14th?
14th.
11th and 14th. Yeah, because free practice 2 in the morning, George was first and Lewis was 4th. And then when they went into basically qualifying, it was 11th and 14th. Yeah, practice 2 was a joke. That's the hard part about the sprint race weekends is they don't really get any practice. They don't get to change anything as of Friday morning on their car setup.
Yeah, and you know what? We also heard a lot of the drivers kind of complaining and talking about how this whole new year, the way they're doing the interviews and everything all on Friday. it's supposed to be an easier, shorter weekend for them. Well, they still have to come in on Thursday. They still have things to do. And it's actually turning out to be longer days.
Yeah.
For them. And especially now with the sprint. So they have practice, qualifying, debrief. That's a long day, Friday. Then they have practice, race, sprint race, and then debrief. And then it's the Sunday race. So it still is a whole lot for them to going on. And then they have all their media requirements that they have to do to, to keep all of us entertained, I
know.
So
crazy.
So
the sprint.
Yeah. Honestly, the start of the sprint, Max didn't have that great of a start.
He did not.
No.
I feel like we saw him have that in 2021 where he's had like wheel spin or an issue at the beginning. Just a couple times because I feel like he was kind of undefeated with his starts.
Sometimes, yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, so Charles got the lead right away, but it was exciting at the front, and then there was the battle behind them of what was going to be happening. So it was good to see.
Yeah,
Carlos was on the charge from
P10 all the way up. He finished in P4.
Yeah, and Perez was on the charge.
And Albon started in the back too. And he got up to, I think, up in the midfield, too, with that as well. So it was pretty nice to see.
I don't think Albon made it into the top 10.
No, he made it into the back of the midfield. I think he was like 13 or something like that at the end of...
I don't know.
Oh, whatever. Anyways, continue with what you were saying.
Anyways, so all I know is George stayed in P11.
And where did Hamilton stay?
And Hamilton stayed in P13, I think.
Well, he actually fell back. He had a rough start, too.
No, he fell back. He didn't. I think he gained one position. I'm not sure. But whatever.
Oh.
So it was it was entertaining. It was great to see. The biggest charges, of course, were Sergio and Carlos. Fastest cars by far. Sergio, when I saw him, just on his charge, I think he overtook Lando or somebody, and it was such a breeze. He was so far back on the main straight and then just got into a slipstream, overtook him. I was like, it's going to be a Red Bull 1-2.
It took him like a race. It was like a bullet difference.
Yeah, it was the easiest thing I've ever seen. So,
it was quite.
And then, really, it didn't get action-packed until the end. Besides Carlos and Perez making their way, it didn't get exciting at the front until...
True.
Max lap 20.
Well, yeah, Max stayed within a second and a half the whole entire sprint. Really, didn't really let Leclerc pull away at all. Those two just went off on their own.
And Max was managing his tires better.
Max definitely managed his tires, and he waited for his spot. And
I think it was lap 19. His engineer came on the radio and was like, "You have overtake available," and he's like, "Lead me to it."
Yeah,
just lead me to it.
Because he was slow. He was playing the game slowly, kind of bringing it in, got it within DRS range, and then just started pulling the trigger. Now, I was. After what we saw with 4 DRSs in
Australia, well, it ended up only being 3.
I know.
But still.
So it started with 4, ended with 3, which was typical for that track. Here, it's always been 1, but I believe they probably could have got 2 in. I feel like this season is a chance to try those kind of things, add an extra DR, just like they did in Australia. Hey, why not, right? So I feel like the 1 wasn't really enough, but there was also another reason.
Well, we also didn't have DRS.
I know, the whole race. and it's pretty bad because I think everybody, I was, you were, we were all asking what the hell is going on.
Everybody was.
But that's later on. Hold on.
But anyways, so
we had DRS just fine in the sprint race.
Max was funny at the end. He got, funny with his engineer where he's like, just lead me to it. And then he didn't even realize the race was over.
Well, yeah, because he just led me to it, and then after that...
Well, he overtook him on lap 20. There's only 21 laps in the race.
Yeah, and then his engineer came back on and goes...
no, he said something, and Max was like, I'm braking.
Yeah, he goes, stop talking to me in the middle of break, because he was giving this gap to what Leclerc was in the gap.
And he was mad because he was focused on braking, and so then he told him to stop talking to him.
So then his engineer just was like, click. All right.
And then he's like, is it over? Was that it? And he's like, well, yeah.
He's like, I didn't hear anything. Because it was Christian that came in and said, hey, congratulations.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But yeah, he did end up beating Leclerc by 2 seconds. I think Leclerc just kind of backed off, and I think his tires were in much rough shape. But if there was maybe 2, maybe 3 more laps, Sergio would have got Charles for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It ended up being like 1.7 second gap at the end there. So it was Red Bull sandwich. I'm like, what am I trying to say?
Yeah.
So it was Max, Charles, Perez, and then Carlos. Mm-hmm. Then the 2 McLarens.
Yeah. Danny had had a pretty good sprint, and Lando just managed what he could and salvaged that. And honestly, McLaren looked a whole lot better.
Yeah.
A whole lot better this weekend than they did in the last previous. I think they're finally getting back to their form. They're still a ways behind the top teams, but I feel like they're finding their form. I feel like they're close. For having a Mercedes engine, they're doing pretty good.
Well, let's not like dog on Mercedes because Aston Martin did finish both cars in the points today.
That too. You're right.
So we had some movement. Albon held off Hamilton and Gasly for
held
50
off.
laps, it felt like.
So we'll talk about that.
So the sprint race was good. It was good. It got good, and then it was over. So that's the thing. And they always say, like, the announcers are like, we don't want to call it a race, but it is a race. But it's not. Everyone's taking it kind of easy, so there's not a whole lot of, like, craziness that really happens. We did see Bottas, like, on the charge. Like, he had a pretty, like, cheeky overtake in one of the corners, which was cool to see. And Bottas, this is, like, his revenge. This is his revenge era. Like, he's out to just prove the type of driver he is.
He's happy to be at Alfa Romeo right now.
He is. Yeah, he's got a good car, so good for him. But, yeah, it was a good opening sprint race. We saw the new point system, so the top 8 get points.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, the top 8?
I think it's way better. I mean, if the drivers are going to risk having another race where they can put their car at risk and have obviously to exert more energy and all sorts of stuff, I feel like there needs to be more deserving point systems. So this really helped Max be able to close the gap a little bit, getting 8 points.
Do you think they should do a fastest lap point or a half a point for a fastest lap?
Let's not do half a points like after last year.
I like the half a point because if you have more than just one time where it's a half a point, it can build up things.
I don't think no.
So no other points involved.
No, because if I was like a team that say I was out of the points or whatever, I would just go in for the fastest lap to take it away from somebody.
Yeah, and then
because
do you
the sprint race doesn't matter.
Then do you think these sprint race points should go only towards the Constructors' Cup, or both the drivers and the?
I think it should go towards both.
You do, because currently it does.
Yeah.
So you think both? Okay.
I mean, personally, I do.
Okay. I don't know.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a question.
Do you not agree?
I think you could change it up and be like.
I know you want your whole like old like system for the sprint races or whatever.
I don't have an old system.
No, you want your own system. Like, oh, we should do this and have it be different.
Well, because I get emails from Formula One because we pay for Formula One TV and we got all the things and the bells and whistles for Formula One TV and shit. So they asked me a lot of things about surveys and like what could we do to be better? What can Formula One do to be better? And those are the kind of questions that I always kind of think of when I respond to those surveys. And other things are like, I would say the graphics are starting to get better.
The graphics for the sprint race are better than the actual Grand Prix.
They are, but they are getting better though.
Tell me if I'm right, because I think I am. But even like the onboards, like I can see like who's ahead of them. They have the little dialogue. Why are we not doing that for the Grand Prix?
They do it a little bit.
Why are we not doing that all the time?
They do it a little bit though. Yeah, you can't say they don't. They have done it a little bit.
Okay, but
I'm a huge fan of the camera that's inside the helmet, the true driver cam. You not so much.
I mean, it's cool, but
I love it.
It just makes me car sick.
When the lighting is right for that camera, I'm a huge fan of that look, of that view.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I think we've talked enough about the sprint race.
Yeah, we did.
We liked it.
We
thought it was
Max
good. It was entertaining. We want more. Yes. Let's move on to the Imola GP, the reason why we're actually doing this podcast.
Well, we're doing it for all of it, please.
I know. But
anyways.
But the main reason is because we do like to talk about the actual race that happens. Because sometimes the race is super exciting. There's so much drama. You know, that it's like it makes people cry to see people win sometimes, because sometimes it's the first time winner, sometimes it's a rookie, sometimes it's crazy.
Yeah, well, so far this year it's been Max or it's been Charles, so 2 for 2. But anyways, so yeah, it was a pretty boring race. It was very lackluster, I would say.
So right from the start, Max had a really good start. He was back to true form.
I hate it when you interrupt me.
Sorry. Then finish your thought, please. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. Right from the start, Max. Max had a great start.
He did. He had a really good start.
Yep.
And
unlike the sprint.
And Charles didn't have quite as good as a start.
Neither one of the Ferraris had a good start.
No, they didn't. I want to see. I should watch the onboards to see what happened. But I don't really know.
I think it was a little bit because honestly, their timing off the line was about the same, but Max is a better late breaker.
Because Sergio had a good one.
And both McLarens had good starts.
Exactly. You know.
So, I mean, Norris was up in P3.
Yeah. Right away, but by the first turn.
I know.
Because as soon as we came around turn 1, we saw Ricciardo bump into... I'm sorry, but it just had to happen. I think he's jinxed.
You jinxed him.
I think
you
I
said
jinxed.
He said he was going to be world champion.
I did. I think I did jinx him. And
so Ricciardo came into Carlos in the turn.
Carlos.
They ended up facing each other.
Yeah, they kind of
Carlos got the bad end of the stick.
Yep.
Of course, he's like back-to-back DNFs, like terrible luck.
Yeah.
Ricciardo still had momentum and was able to get out of it, but had too much damage, so it was a tough race for him. But yeah, we had that, and then right after, we didn't realize because we were so focused on that, Mick, with a great start, hoping for points this race, came into Alonso, which caused some damage that turned into a bigger issue later. So
yeah, because whatever the hit was, it just kind of cracked the body, and Alonso was kind of doing some good battles for a moment. Him and Hamilton were kind of battling for a minute.
No, I saw him dropping down. Nobody was paying attention to it. He had dropped down already like 3 places.
There was like a 2 or 3. There was a battle, but you're right. Then
there was no battle. There was no battle with Hamilton. Everybody wants to say there was a battle with Hamilton. There was no battle with Hamilton.
I want to see more battles with Hamilton.
No, I was like, oh wow, he just got overtaken
by
Vettel. I hope the announcers say something about how old they are, because every time Vettel and Alonso are battling, it's like they'd have a combined age of 75 if they put them together. Look at these old people battling each other. Like, I don't know why they have to say that every single time, but no. I knew something was happening, but at the time we were focused on the front because the race had just restarted, of course, after the safety car.
Yeah, but Max got away good. Again.
Yeah, so he was just dropping down, and I'm like, man, what's going on? And then he got to Hamilton. That was Hamilton's one overtake, I think, of the entire race. I'm sad.
Yeah, I think it is. He got lapped.
Okay, please. I'm not going to get into that.
But you know what? Last year, Max got lapped too, but Max also had a damaged car at that point, and I guess...
Max did not get lapped last season.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
When he got rear-ended...
Nope. Not in Hungary, when his barge board was, destroyed because of the Bottas bowling.
Yeah.
No. The only drivers of the entire 2021 season that did not get lapped are Lewis and Max. That was a statistic from last year.
I think that's a statistic. I think it's wrong.
Okay, well, it's not.
I think it's wrong. Anyways.
You thought that there was a battle between Hamilton and Alonso, and there was not.
I guess you're right.
So we had that. We only had 2 DNFs this race. Ricciardo and Alonso, both issues obviously started on lap 1.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot else, so everybody started on intermediates. Was the rain going to come? The rumor was
there was going to be more rain coming back.
In 20 minutes,
yeah,
the radar, and then the wind shifted it.
Yeah, rain.
The F1 gods were like, we're not bringing it.
Yeah, so it's kept drying out, and typically, yesteryears, they would enable DRS.
Oh yeah, how could I forget we didn't have DRS the entire race?
People were still out on intermediates. The thing is Ricciardo got in that tussle, in that kerfuffle whatever you want to call it, with Charles, and he was able to get out of it.
With Carlos.
With
sorry.
Carlos, not Charles. Thank you.
With Carlos? With Carlos.
With Carlos, yes. And he was able to get out and get back to the pits, get his changed wing, get some changes done. And he was the first one to actually go off of the intermediates and go on to hard. So he was kind of like the guinea pig.
He went on to mediums first.
Oh, you're right. He did. He did go on to mediums.
I feel like he pitted.
But he went on
like,
hards later.
Yeah, exactly. He went on to hards later because of the DRS train. But, so he went on. He tested it. Then everybody was like, "Oh, it's working. He's getting fastest, Yeah, like
he
sectors.
He was putting in fast sectors on those mediums.
So then Perez came in. Then Charles came in. Then Max came in. Then everyone came in. Literally everyone was in the pits.
All at the same time. Same lap, everybody.
It was crazy. And it was like, oh my God, there's an accident in the pit lane.
Yeah, Lewis got hit.
He got bumped by Ocon.
Ocon got
an unsafe release.
For sure, and got only 5 seconds, and I guess that was fair.
Yeah, but that caused the whole thing because I feel like Lewis probably... Then Lance got in front because Ocon hit him. I feel like they would have... Who knows? Maybe Lance and Lewis would have collided too, but that's how Lewis got stuck behind everyone.
So then everybody was on mediums.
Everyone was on mediums, yeah.
And still no DRS.
Yeah, and then it got enabled, and it was like we were watching the battle between.
Well, it got enabled kind of late, and those tires.
We didn't even watch the beginning, like the front of the race. It was just Hamilton and Gasly trying to overtake. Yeah. Hamilton trying to overtake Gasly. Gasly trying to overtake Albon.
They were just
for
all
freaking
within
25
like
laps.
All within a second of each other, and it was just the whole time.
Oh my God! I was like, "Is this real life? What is happening right now?" No, that's actually what I was saying. Like, I cannot deal with this anymore.
So, yeah, I think for the most part, once they enacted DRS, it was mostly DRS trains.
Yeah.
And it really didn't benefit too many people, if anybody at all.
No, I don't think there was really any overtaking, the entire time.
Yeah. It was...
except for the front runners and the back markers. Yeah. And that was it. Which are getting blue flags anyway. So
later in the race, the top guys, they were kind of pulling themselves farther away from everybody else. And so there was some space for some people to start thinking about pitting for some softs or some new tires to go for fastest lap. Because Max had pretty much had it the whole entire race. Mm-hmm. As soon as he got out on those mediums right after the intermediates, he pretty much had the fastest lap and held it the whole entire race.
Yeah.
Leclerc was not able to keep pace. I think there was probably talk.
So Leclerc came in first for softs.
Yeah, there was talk about coming in for softs. He was talked about Plan D. And
they were like, no, stay out till the end.
And then like a lap or two later, he came in. He got on some softs. It looked like...
Then Perez came in.
Well, yeah, it looked like he was going to go for fastest lap, which he was probably going to set up and do. So that created the space for Perez.
Well, Perez came in to cover because there was enough laps for Charles to, be able to catch him.
Yeah.
And so then it was like a free pit stop for Max, so might as well just go for it. Let's just go for the gusto and get all the points we possibly can.
Yeah. So Leclerc going in, coming back out, allowed Lando to go by, and he was kind of in third for a second. Then we saw those softs kick in, and he just kind of blew back by Lando really quickly.
Yep.
And was getting ready to set up fastest lap, kind of getting ready to start coming closer and closer to the Red Bulls and trying to get on them. And
10 laps to go.
10 laps to go. He was pushing it, looking really fast, looking really good. And he just takes one of those turns. I forget the name of it, but it's like the chicane.
It's the one that everybody has pictures of their cars flying in the air, or at least one wheel off.
Yeah.
He went a little too deep and then tried to correct it too hard or go even deeper, and then did a little spin and ended up in the wall.
Yeah.
Lucky for him, he wasn't stuck in the wall or even more damage. So he was able to keep the car going, got back to the pits, had to change his front wing. Didn't have a whole lot of extra damaged. I mean, that we know of, but
Right.
obviously I'm sure it affected him. But
A little bit.
Came out in P7.
I think P8.
P8, and then he finished P6.
And finished P6. So he was able to get back a little bit, but that promoted Lando up into third.
Yep. Russell up to fourth.
Russell to fourth.
Bottas to fifth.
And Bottas was coming and catching.
Oh my God. Yeah.
He was almost going to get Russell. If
We were having flashbacks from Imola 2021 of the opposite.
Yeah. There wasn't enough straightaway with the DRS enabled to get past. I don't know. This track didn't quite have enough for everyone to get.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of overtaking capabilities.
There wasn't.
It just felt that way. And I don't know if it was a factor of the rain or if it was like just a combination of everything. Because
I think that there was a lack of rain because it rained in the morning and started the first couple laps were definitely wet.
And when you think about last year, I'm like, and obviously Mercedes was a much different team than last year. This is the race where Lewis was. Remember, he went to the wall and then we had the red flag because of George and Valtteri. And he was able to overtake like everybody.
And still get on the podium.
P2. So I'm like, there was a lot of overtaking and it was the same conditions because we had rain. We had the same, we started on inners, the red flag, then everybody came out on slick. So the track was drying on the racing line. So I don't know. It was boring, but
it wasn't as good as last year.
I was a little disappointed, I'm not going to lie, personally, on a personal piece because I had the prediction perfect. I had the prediction top 5 perfect because I was like, Valtteri's going to catch Russell. Yeah. And I had Red Bull 1-2. Yep. We both did. Red Bull 1-2. I just knew it. Saturday, I was like, they were way too quick. They're like locked in. Unless their engine blows, it's a Red Bull 1-2. Mm-hmm. Leclerc, third. I knew that there was going to be a Ferrari that went out and crashed. I knew there was going to be a McLaren that went out. I had Norris fourth, and I had Bottas fifth. And if Bottas wouldn't have had that terrible pit stop, he would have been in fifth. Actually, he would have been in fourth with the way that it landed. But as soon as Leclerc went out, I was like, man, I had it perfect down to the T. But
yeah, he didn't have that great of a pit stop. You're right about that.
He didn't. That's the reason. And
this season's proving that these new tires, these new rims are giving the teams a little bit of a hassle.
It was a little flashback from Monaco though, because it was his front. It was his front.
Everybody talks about that.
It was his front right tire. We had a couple flashbacks from Monaco 2021. Okay.
Yeah.
So flashback for Valtteri, front right tire. They couldn't get in. The wheel gun was like stuck. They were trying and trying and trying. Flashback number 2 was Lewis couldn't get past Gasly.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me for this whole race, really, is they kept showing it, and
it was like heartbreak over and over. Like I wanted to I don't know.
I mean, Gasly just held up a good defense, and Lewis's car is just not where he wants it to be. I guess I don't know. There's definitely something going on with it, and he can't drive it.
I mean, and here's the thing: like Russell was P4 and Lewis was P14, but promoted to P13 because, or was it P12? I don't know. He was promoted one place because of Ocon.
Yeah.
All I know is I was like, oh my God, get past Gasly, please.
Yeah. So this is Max's win.
Yep.
Perez 2. So Red Bull 1-2. Haven't seen a Red Bull 1-2 in something like you said.
2,030 days. It has been since the Malaysian Grand Prix. It was Ricciardo and Max. Red Bull's last one too.
Wow, so that's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It was, what a weekend.
Yeah.
It was the maximum weekend. Max got the maximum points. He got his second Grand Slam. Last year was his first in Austria.
Yep.
And so it should be something different. We kind of talked about that earlier. We're like, well, this is different because it's a sprint weekend. So he got pole position. He won the sprint race. He led every lap. He won the race. He got fastest lap. So what's better than a Grand Slam?
I don't know. I think we need to talk about this in the F1 community for sure, because he definitely did more than the Grand Slam required. So we need to talk about that and figure out what that is for sure. And he dominated the whole weekend. His car looked good. Team looked good.
Yep.
His teammate looked good. I don't know. I guess.
So now we've got Red Bull P2 in the constructors.
Yeah, I mean, look how fast it's changing. And honestly, Leclerc was able doing that spin and going into the wall like he did for not
Well, he's still winning by over a race.
Not DNFing though.
Yeah.
I mean, keeping the car.
That's a good thing.
He was able to salvage points, and it was able, come out in 8th was one thing. He still would have got a couple points, but he was able to actually pass a couple people to get more.
Yeah.
And if there was more laps, he probably would have passed more people. So still that Ferrari looked good, and he was able to not damage it and salvage the mistake. And that's the thing is, he does make mistakes, it seems like.
He does. He did admit to pushing it to the limit. And that's why I was like, for me, I've only been watching F1 for a couple years. So I'm like, I've seen a lot of like crazy Leclerc moments where he goes into the wall. So I'm like, he's had a great season so far. This was his first mistake of the new season. So, we'll see what happens, but he does push it to the limit. And, he knew that he was like on the brink of getting Perez after that pit stop. So he's like, I got to push it. And, he's trying to win. You can't fault him for that, but it is good to see that, of course, he did bounce back. He got some points. He's still in the lead for the Drivers' Championship by over a race win. So.
But it wasn't, so look, the season's still early. We still got a
lot can happen. Williams could win.
We still got a lot of racing to do.
I'm just kidding. Williams cannot win.
So that kind of sums up the Imola race with Red Bull 1-2. That was the big thing. Anything else you got for the race?
Driver of the day.
Sure.
For me, I know I said this last episode, but I did agree that Alex should have been Australia's. But George, for me, was driver of the day.
Today?
Yeah, so the F1 community was Max with a 14% vote. But for me, I really feel strongly about George. I think he did a great job holding Bottas up at the end. I think he had an incredible start from P11, up to P6. That's a 5 place, like right from the jump. I mean, amazing start. And I think he kept his cool. I think he drove great with a shitbox car that they couldn't fix the front on his pit stop. And so he had a lot of understeer issues. So
they weren't able to get the wing flaps to the right angle once they went from the intermediate tires to the slicks. And honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. I would have picked George as well. And all the things you said, I would have said too. The only thing is that he really performed really well. Better than the car.
Yeah.
Better than the car.
Yep.
And
he's been super consistent this whole season. I mean, he was on the podium last race. Out of luck, I know, but he's been top 5 since the race opening. So there's a lot of potential. He did fall out of P2, so there was obviously some big movement this weekend with the sprint race. I mean, obviously Mercedes got 0 points from the sprint.
It's still real tight,
but close. It is real tight, and we're only 4 races in, so I know I'm giving Mercedes a really hard time. Like, how have we not mastered this car yet? But I do know that they will work to fix it. Will it be too late is, I guess, the question. So
yeah, I don't know. But
we'll see. A lot can happen.
We got a week off, and then in the next week after that, so in 2 weeks' time, we have Miami.
Our first race in Miami.
The first race in Miami. We debated
should we go? I'm honestly.
There's still a couple tickets available. It hasn't quite sold out yet for general admission.
I just kind of want to go for we live in the States. I feel like we have to go.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive.
It's
there's
expensive
there's
enough.
A lot of parties. We want to link up with some other podcast groups that are having some events. So I'm like, maybe we just go. We just vibe. So maybe next time you see us, we'll be in Miami.
Yeah, we'll see. So that does it for me. Anything else for you?
No, I think that's it. First sprint in the books. We got a couple more this year, so I'm excited to see and looking forward to seeing some new race winners. So we've got a new track. Could be a new race winner. Yeah. It's going to be cool. Looking forward to it.
That's all I got. Until next time, we'll see you guys in Miami.
Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers before the Austin GP, we're about halfway there.
Yep.
So we need your help. If you're watching this, hit the subscribe button, and we'll bring you some fun content and some crazy bucket hats.
Yeah, so thank you very much for paying attention. If you've watched this long, like, comment, dislike, whatever. We want to talk F1. This is why we do this. We enjoy watching the races. We enjoy the whole community, and we want to do more things in that community as well. So that's it for us. Until next time, this is
Straight to the Chicane.
It is. We'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye.